Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is October 29th, 2022. I'm sorry. I have to get it on my system. I only have a couple more days. And then we won't be doing so ooky spooky, of course. Of course. I'll be thinking about turkey. But hopefully this this episode is catching you well. What is it? It's Saturday. Pretty good day for me so far. Doing well, yes. Trying not to have any random mental freakouts, existential dread, the usual. But yeah, good day. No big food updates, sadly. I had a ho hum, burger, hot dog, fry kind of thing. So, we can just get into some news. Just get after it. Let's see. For starters, we're coming out of the Yahoo News / NBC News. This was a story that I don't know if it's necessarily major, but I don't know. It piqued my interest. It was very odd. So, I wanted to cover it. California teacher accused of hiding missing teen for almost 2 years. So, there's not enough details that are out on the situation, but man, let me just tell you. Let's start off with the start. Let's start at A. A California teacher is accused of hiding a missing teenager who vanished more than 2 years ago and reappeared at his family's home in March, authorities said last week. So, Holga Castillo Olivieres. That's what we're gonna go with. 61. She was scheduled to appear in court on Monday. And the student was Michael Ramirez, who is now 17. He was 15 at the time of the disappearance. So I mean, it's crazy. I guess he dated Olivares's daughter, and I guess that's kind of the familial type connection. So that's how they knew him. They knew each other. Because initially, when I read this, or before I got into the details of it, I was like, "What? The kid was abducted, or was the kid running away from home?" And so the kid was running away from home. I think there was an argument of sorts, and but essentially, he went to the home of the Oliveras, and he was just there for years. And I just couldn't imagine, you're a parent, you're harboring a child, you have to imagine how that's making the family feel. They don't know where their kid is, especially under those kind of terms. You just had an argument with your kid, and now your kid just disappeared. That's a nightmare. So it's not like I was looking for excuses or anything like that, but I'm just it was just one of those make this make sense. I'm just so confused. And I do think once you see oh, okay, it is your daughter's boyfriend or whatever. So it's okay, you're trying to take care of him, and that this is better than the street or something like that, but all the same, you gotta immediately tell the parents. You gotta keep it real there. I don't understand what the lag there for 2 years. And I guess he just left and then just came back 2 years later. That's a movie. That's crazy. So once I heard the whole story unfold there, and I mean obviously it's not the whole story. I would love to get some details, and if there are any, I will update the podcast. But man, I was like, what the fuck? In other news, we're going to be talking about some spy shit. I got this from NPR. U.S. charges 13 in cases that involved alleged plots to advance Chinese interests. So this is a juicy bit. Now 13 people were charged, and I think it's between various plots to advance Chinese interests in the United States. So it's two big situations. Let's see. Two of the cases were filed in federal court in the Eastern District of New York. In one, two suspected Chinese spies are charged with trying to obstruct a federal investigation into a China-based global telecommunications company. It's also believed they didn't come out with a name officially, but I guess there is information in the charging document aligns with the Chinese tech giant Huawei, which was indicted in New York in 2019. The defendants are Go Chon Hee and Xing Wang. Sorry. They're accused of attempting to direct an employee of a U.S. law enforcement agency to obtain confidential information about witnesses, trial evidence, and potential new charges to be brought against the company. More or less here, they were like trying to recruit a law enforcement official to like give them insider information, and this person agrees, but this person is like a double agent, and then he flips it on them and they get jammed up. Let's see, let's get to the other one. In the other case in New York, 7 Chinese nationals who were allegedly working on behalf of the Chinese government were indicted for taking part in an alleged year-long campaign of threats of harassment to force a U.S. resident to return to China. Two of the individuals are in U.S. custody. So I mean, this is kind of some deep shit. I guess apparently there is like a program, like a kind of like spy type program, I guess you could say, maybe, whatever, nationwide initiative or something. Like it's like, and this is from China, called like Operation Fox Hunt or something to that effect. And essentially they send out operatives, agents, whatever. They embed themselves in areas, but they're looking for people who have left China, like Chinese criminals. But a lot of these criminals are like political criminals who fled for those kind of reasons, and they're looking to say, hey, what are you doing here? You need to go back home. And it's like, no, I'm not gonna go back home. It's like a death sentence. Like, that's no way. Like, I'm not gonna go so I can get arrested and then go to a camp. And plus, I don't want to go to China. I just don't want to go back. I'm cool. I like my internet. But I mean, China has internet, but it hits different when you're in China. But yeah, it's just crazy the level of spy shit here. Obviously you can go, yeah, Operation Fox Hunt. So just spicy shit. And don't get me wrong, I mean, obviously this is a highlight on China, but let's not ever get it twisted. Like, America doesn't have spy shit going constantly everywhere all the fucking time. And just all countries do this. If you have the power to do it, you're gonna do it. You're gonna do some spy shit. I just find it interesting and wanted to cover it. Also, Netflix thing. If you have an account, whatever, Spycraft. It's pretty good. I liked it. It was a fun little thing. Obviously, you can hear some little bit of biases throughout from like the talking heads that they have, but it's fun. It's nice looking at some spy gadgets, gizmos, and techniques. Let's see. I actually might not be getting that title right, but I'm sure if you search it on Netflix, you'll find it. In some other news, Yahoo News and Associated Press. School gunman had AR-15 style weapon, 600 rounds of ammo. And now this is about the 19-year-old Orlando Harris. He went to a St. Louis high school, and he had this AR-15. He was loaded up. He had like bullets, like strapped to his chest and shit. What is it? I think security sees him. He immediately calls police, but he's not able to detain him or stop him. He gets in and essentially kills 2 other people. He kills a student and a teacher. Let's see. There was a 10th grader, Alexandria Bell. And then Jean Kuska, who was a 61-year-old phys ed teacher. Let's see, I also have another article here with some more stuff. Oh my god, I hate when like there's ads and stuff. It's the worst, and they just stick around. Orlando Harris's gun was taken away over mental health fears. How did he go on to commit the St. Louis shooting? Um, let's see here if I can see it. Yeah, 15 years old. But it's just a sad situation. He was also gunned down by the police. The police were, I would say, pretty effective in the situation. It was not like the Uvalde situation. There was no door problem. And also, this is a bit of a tangent because I do not think I'm going to be able to get to it. But it was something that happened. There was an interview with the teacher who was blamed in the Uvalde shooting situation with the door. And even the like a law enforcement guy, like a top dude or whatever, had said that was a big flaw here, and that was one of the fingers he was pointing at was his teacher, and she got so much flack, so much shit for this, and she wasn't even at fault. Once again, the door shit never fucking mattered, and not to mention it was literally closed, so it was not the issue there. But you do hear in this article that doors get mentioned a lot, yada yada yada, but he wasn't able to get in. He was able to like they don't go into the details. I believe like an officer by the name of like Sack. I don't have his full name ready. Michael Sack. Yes, St. Louis Police Commissioner Michael Sack. He doesn't go into the details because he doesn't want to like divulge that potential like security weakness of the school. But essentially, he was able to get in, and he had this obviously murderous intent. He was talking as he was doing it. There was a report that he like said like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, and he was like shooting people. He was like eye to eye with someone. He pulls the trigger. The gun jams. Fortunately, person gets away. He winds up barricading himself. Police shoot him. There was a note that he had left, and mind you, he is returning to this school. By the way, it's like an art school. Let's see. Yeah, the Central Visual and Performing Arts High School. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned that earlier. But he mentions like a letter, and he's just saying like how sad he was. He felt like he didn't have family, friends. He didn't have a girlfriend, and he's just saying like, and I think what is it? The police officer says like he just kind of like fit the formula to be this shooter, and it's a sad thought. It's a sad way that we've kind of just, I don't know, we as people have gotten to that it's like this now. I think what is it? This is like the 40th shooting this year already, and that we're just saying this year. I don't know. And like I said, I picked this one. I mean, there's others. I'm gonna try to maybe get through it this weekend, or maybe bonus episode, whatever. But like I said, I was born St. Louis, Missouri. So in a way, this kind of just hits to me. It's sad to hear and see about this, and it's sad that this is like one of the quote unquote better case scenarios. But then also from the other article too, it's crazy how this 19-year-old has access to this kind of firepower. Obviously you can debate me, whatever the fuck, on the legalities on why or why not you should be allowed to do it. American rights, yada, 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 second amendment. Second, yada, yada. But, it's crazy that, he had the gun potentially confiscated. Essentially though, they couldn't legally take the gun from him. Like the family calls in like a wellness kind of thing, and they're like, he has his gun, we don't think he should have it, he's a threat, he has like mental health problems, and he shouldn't have his gun. And they're like, hey, they responded, but they couldn't do anything legally. But then I think another family member came in and they said, hey, we'll hold on to the gun. But somehow, some way, he's able to get his hands on it. And I think the thing that's fucked up to me is reading this article, going through this, hearing this shit. It is bar for bar deja vu. I think the only thing that's really different that I haven't heard was like, oh, a family member was able to confiscate it. But the fact of the matter is that a kid, like a young adult, 18 years old, like you can have a shotgun, you can have an AR-15, you can have all these fucking guns that you can just blow away people with, and even if you have a mental health thing, even if we're doing like the red flag shit, it's just sometimes people can still slip through. So it's like, what do you do? I do think though the red flag shit is so far the best method, the best thing, in terms of like when you're dealing with like mental health, like having that kind of awareness and being able to like hotkey that kind of information, I think is good. Um, I don't know. Obviously, I think there should be more. Um, I know I definitely have friends though who disagree with that, and it's hard. I don't want to ever infringe on people's rights to bear arms. You're just not gonna win that battle in America. You're just fucking not. And in a lot of countries, I think it really is an issue. It's really hard, but I do think we just got to do more. Something has to change. Like they just should not be so fucking common. When it's in your schools, it's in your neighborhoods, it's everywhere. Like, it just shouldn't be like that, man. We're gonna move on to another weird situation, I guess you could say, bizarre. But I don't know. Well, let's just get into it. I got this from the Associated Press. Good old AP. Suspect in assault at Pelosi home had posted about QAnon. So, this is about David DePape, and he I don't know, this guy's a character, man. But he assaulted Nancy Pelosi, was it Paul Pelosi? Who's 82 years old. We've covered him before. He was doing the old drunken drive and got, nabbed up about that. But, that's another story. It's old news. But DePape came in, looking for Nancy Pelosi. He is quoted as saying, "Where is Nancy?" And I guess when the police arrive, the two men have hammers, and they are getting physical with each other. And I think at some point in this altercation, DePape gets Pelosi's hammer. And maybe I'm getting this wrong. This is what I've gleaned from this and also listening to other stories, stuff like this. The whole pipeline, you know how it goes. But apparently I think he had plans to like tie up Paul at that point, and he was like looking for Nancy, who is in Washington right now. She's doing the whole midterm push shit. So she wasn't there. But this dude's just going postal, and police apprehend them. I mean, they both go to the hospital. They both sustained, injuries, and I believe Pelosi went into surgery even, but he is slated to make a full recovery, so that's good. But shit is bizarre, and when you get into David DePape, this is and honestly, I mean that's why QAnon is mentioned, because it lets you know, hey, you're going into the hellmouth here. This dude apparently is from Powell River, British Columbia, so from up north, up yonder. And I guess he follows his girlfriend to San Francisco, and I believe her name is Gypsy something. Let's see if I can find it here in the article. Yeah, we gotta get into the naked part. Naked grandma. I think it's Taub. Yeah, Gypsy Taub. Sorry about that. Had to do some skimming. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, photographs published by the San Francisco Chronicle on Friday identified DePape frolicking nude outside City Hall with dozens of others at the 2013 wedding of pro-nudity activist Gypsy Taub, who was, marrying another man. Taub did not respond Friday to calls or emails. So maybe I'm getting that wrong with the girlfriend part here. I don't know, man. This shit is a hydra of information. It's a lot. There's also, he is labeled as like, from the Chronicle, as a hemp jewelry maker. who lived in a Victorian flat in Berkeley with Taub. So yeah, I'm assuming that they were dating, but they were just in like a polyamorous kind of situation. Been there, that's not the problem here. But let's see. But Taub hosted a talk show on local public access TV called Uncensored 9/11. So that's good. In which she appeared naked and pushed conspiracy theories that the 2001 terrorist attacks were an inside job. And hey, man, we all love a good conspiracy. That's, once again, not the well, it might be the problem, actually. Like I said, I kind of like that conspiracy theory talk has kind of changed because it had to change. It's gotten so crazy. And you literally can just turn anything into a conspiracy theory. And that's not necessarily a good thing. When we're talking about magic bullets and, we're getting into quote unquote who did 9/11 and all that kind of stuff, that's one thing. But at the same time, the 9/11 is a good example because you can just see how these things can spiral out. And QAnon just takes any kind of thought and warps it into something very, very terrible. And it activates people and it turns just normal random people potentially, or people maybe who aren't so normal, who maybe are on the fringe, and it just makes this pipeline and it just turns them into something that they weren't supposed to be. I don't know. This DePape guy, like I said, he's got a lot going on. I've seen some like Twitter profiles that I think were quote unquote linked to him, that are saying some very, very wild ass shit. It's very hard to keep up with, very hard to digest. But this dude was definitely anti some shit, and I don't know. There's almost like a road that kind of tracks these people to these events. You know what I mean? To the January 6s, to I guess the Pelosi home, ready to find Nancy. I don't know, man. So this is some crazy shit. Wanted to talk about it. The old breaking news. Gonna move to the next bump, and this is kind of the last thing. This is like a little bit of a combo piece. So I'm gonna hit it here. The old break. Ooh-wee. Ooh. Oh boy. Okay. So, gonna do a little bit of an old news thing here because I missed the bump in terms of like the last news cycle, but it does kind of pair well with what's going on this week. So I figured, hey, let's just do it. Let's just run it. So, the first half got it from the Guardian. Iranian climber Elnaz Rekabi reportedly under house arrest. So this was a story from a competition that took place in South Korea where Rekabi, she participated in an event, and it was a big deal because obviously what is going on in terms of the protests over the death of Masa Amini, they are still going on. I believe they are in their past 5 weeks. So we're going past 40 days of this shit. It's deep, it's good that people are still fighting and not giving up. I have a heart to really tell those stories and talk about the stories a lot because it's important. It's important to not give up when you see something happening over and over and over and over and over again, and it doesn't stop, and it's so heartbreaking to deal with. You have to fight. You have to do what you can. And if I can use whatever little bit of platform to tell those stories and talk about that shit, I want to do that. So, she said, I'm not wearing the scarf. I mean, and we're talking about, at least as I heard these stories as they happened, she was like, yo, I'm not doing it. I'm going to participate. I'm going to just not have my headscarf on. It's just going to happen. And that's obviously a big to do. The Iranian laws on the headscarves, wearing hijab, extend outside of Iran. That just doesn't change. So her doing that was a big statement. But there was immediate backlash. So like the second she gets home, she's not allowed to go home. Like this, she's instead of going to the instead of going home, she is more or less put to like their kind of sports facility, I guess you could say. Um and yeah, the she was held at the National Olympic Academy under watch of plainclothes officers until she met the minister. So, and the minister, who is Hamid Sajadi, I'm gonna say that that's how it is. Um, but what's really sad here is like she's pretty much and leading up to it, she kind of knows that she's gonna have to change her story a bit, and she kind of modifies and say, "Hey, it was an accident. Like I accidentally kind of left it. It fell, as I was climbing up, yada, yada, yada." Like, she's explaining, hey, this was a malfunction, not intended. And also, she's implored when she is, more or less apprehended at the facility, that you need to change your story. You weren't doing this in active protest. And if you don't change your story, we are going to take, what is this? They say 100, I think it's million reals, which is equivalent to 276,000 pounds. I think I'm getting that right. You guys know I'm bad with numbers, and this is international numbers. So that's a lot of money. That's more than dollars. In terms of we're talking about pounds to USD. But it's worth of their family property unless she made a forced confession. So obviously that's fucking hardcore shit. That's sad shit. But I think everyone really saw through that in a good way, and they said, okay, that's fine, whatever, fuck it. We appreciate her, excuse me, protesting, and we just hope that she's fine. And I think essentially she is under house arrest at this point. Now, officials have come out and said she's not under house arrest, but she's not allowed to leave her home, And in the situation, I think she was forced to stay like overnight too at the facility because they were said she didn't have a change of clothes. So I don't know, shit's fucked. Shit's gnarly. But like I said, it's gonna segue us into the current news of the week, which I got from Yahoo News and the AFP. Iran protests rage overnight after Masa Amini commemoration. So this took place at her funeral at let's see, it's kind of outside of Sakez, which is on Wednesday. They're paying tribute at her grave at the end of the traditional mourning period. Now I believe either at some point there at the funeral or when they move to go protest more at I want to say an official area, like a government area, building type thing. Many were seen heading to the governor's office in the city square, but at some point the security forces fire tear gas and they open fire on the people at the square. Now, like I said, when I initially read headlines, I thought it was at the actual grave where they do this, and then things kind of spiral out. So I'm not entirely sure. Once again, I might be totally getting that wrong here. You can totally go off the article, but just either way, it's fucked up and it's sad. You should be letting these people have their traditional time to grieve, just period. If you were talking about keeping things official here, why are you doing this? Now, granted, they're going to maybe use the excuse of well, these people are protesting while they're here. They're doing it. It said in the article, there was a woman who was standing on a car without her hijab on. And mind you, this is also going on in the city. Like I said, the protests have been going on. They are non-fucking stop. People are actively saying, hey, I'm not going to wear hijab. And they leave the house. They do their shit. They go about their 9 to 5, their daily life that day without it. And that's a scary thing, And like I said, this isn't for me to judge another person's, culture, society's way of life. That's not what we're trying to do here. It's not what I'm trying to do. But we are talking about people who are being beaten, who are being tortured, who are being forced to go through, a country's propaganda for these religious customs that they are using to oppress people. It's not needed. There are going to be plenty of people who are going to follow this if you just give them the choice to, like in terms of like wearing a hijab. But when you're making this big life and death thing and you are taking people's lives over it, people are going to keep fighting over it. I mean, this isn't the first time, obviously. It's not going to stop, even if it is quote unquote stopped for now, which it's not. It's still going. So, talking about, the rock climber, Rekabi, and then also just the situation that happened at our commemoration. I just, I wanted to bookend the episode with that. I don't want to stop talking about that stuff. So, just thank you for listening, though. Thank you if if you're still here, you're still hanging out. You're a champ. You're the you're the best. I was gonna say you're the boast. I'm boasting about you right now, live online. But hopefully you stay well. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love you. Bye bye. Mwah.